Little Rock Black Police Officer Association Lodge, which I think is a fitting location for this press conference and for the explanation of the civil rights lawsuit that we filed this morning. Let's not beat around the bush. There is rampant racism and racial discrimination that riddles the Little Rock Police Department. And aside from the moral implications of that type of discrimination, there are also incredible practical effects given the current violent crime spree, unsolved homicide trend that exists. So when you take officers off the street for reasons that are not essential, beyond its, again, moral implications, you are putting the city at greater risk. The department has been negatively impacted by racism and racial discrimination for generations. And I think that's beyond any type of serious debate. That's a fact. But there's also kind of a component of age discrimination at the Little Rock Police Department as well. And it inordinately affects African American officers. The situation goes something like this. When an African American recruit, young officer comes aboard, he or she is gung-ho, wants to get involved, but they're told, hold on, be patient. It's not your time yet. These are code words or code phrases. Meanwhile, their white counterparts are getting plum positions, they're getting favorable transfers, they're educating themselves, they are seeking and earning commendation and accreditation, and they're pushing their careers forward. The African American officer then sits back, bides his or her time as instructed, is patient, is humble, amasses commendations over the years, education, and then when it's time to come forward, they're told, guess what? You're too old. It's a vicious cycle. And it is affecting young recruits as we speak, and it is precisely what happened to the very fine officers that I represent in the lawsuit that we filed this morning. Here to my right are officers, Sergeant, starting over at the end, Lieutenant Ernest Whitten. Coming closer to myself, Sergeant Derek Threadgill, then Sergeant Willie Davis, and to my immediate right, and we're very glad to have him here with us, Lieutenant Johnny D. Gilbert, Jr. Now, in today's lawsuit, there were 4 litigants. Sergeant Davis, Lieutenant Whitten, Sergeant Threadgill, and Jackie Parker, who's not with us. Jackie is an African American officer who was terminated back in November for reasons that we argue were unjust. Not on today's complaint is Lieutenant Gilbert and a 6th officer that I represent by the name of Captain Tanya Washington. Quite simply, we had EEOC right to sue letters for 4 of the litigants. We're still waiting on 2 of them. When we get those right to sue letters for Lieutenant Gilbert and for Captain Washington, we will file a complaint and have it consolidated with today's complaint. So we're looking at 6 officers who are stepping forward in the great tradition of the LRBPOA. And so I'd like to explain a little bit about the complaint allegations, what they entail, and what we hope to accomplish. There are 3 counts to the complaint. The first count is a joint race and age discrimination count. And as I've explained to you, it alleges that there are practices at the Little Rock Police Department which serve to inordinately and unconstitutionally burden black officers, men and women, while not imposing those same types of obstacles or requirements on their white counterparts. What we're talking about here is a lack of promotion, a lack of hiring, uneven discipline, lower salary. We're talking about basically all of the kind of essential property rights and property interests that people can have in their employment. That's the first count, race, discrimination, age discrimination, in violation of Chapter 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The second count it sounds in First Amendment law and retaliation in violation of the First Amendment. We think it's pretty clear that from day one, the current Chief Kenton Buckner has voiced his disdain of the Little Rock Police, the Little Rock Black Police Officers Association, and has really kind of strove to disband it from the very beginning. And what we're coming to realize is that he has a particular animus towards individuals within that group. And that group is a protected group. To belong to the LRBPOA is to exercise your right to associate. And it is to exercise your right to free speech. And as long as lines aren't crossed, and as long as there's no type of slanderous or untruthfulness coming from any of these officers, they are well within their right to voice their own personal concerns and critiques, as long as it doesn't interfere with their work. And we submit that it certainly does not. The final count in the complaint is under the Arkansas Whistleblowers Act. And here we talk about specific instances of officers reporting instances of waste or bias or other misconduct to authorities or in a court-like proceeding or tribunal, and then being punished or retaliated against for reporting on it. And I think here of Lieutenant Gilbert, who gave testimony in the Perkins case, where he described Josh Hastings, the disgraced Little Rock officer who shot Bobby Moore, and his training regimen, or lack thereof. Under oath, Lieutenant Gilbert spoke of the irregularities that plagued his recruitment process, the favors that he was given, and how those types of favors were not extended to anybody else but him, and certainly not to black recruits. After giving that testimony, we think the evidence will show Lieutenant Gilbert was maligned, retaliated against, and harassed. The situation that you're all probably more familiar with, which is a slightly more recent vintage, would be that of Sergeant Willie Davis. You might recall that Sergeant Davis became aware of the very controversial racist recruit Facebook post. And he got that information and took it through the proper channels we submit, through supervisors at the LRBPOA. And that information got its way to the chief of police, where it should have been, and where it wound up, where it needed to go. And rather than commend Sergeant Davis for his disclosure of this fact, he was instead retaliated against and punished. And if there's any type of a situation that really typifies the type of unfair retaliation, it would be that of Sergeant Davis. And I'm recalling, frankly, one of the letters or memoranda that were sent regarding this, and how it mentioned very directly the case of Bobby Moore and Josh Hastings, and how the department knew before hiring Hastings that he had an association with the KKK, and went ahead and did it anyway. And I think that it was very embarrassing for the department to have it known that a blogger basically on a budget shoestring budget, certainly not the resources of the department, was able to reveal this racist posting when the LRPD apparently did not. It shows that they're not properly vetting their candidates. And the question becomes, do they want to? Do they really want to find out the truth? And so the Whistleblower Act in this case is going to apply to not just Lieutenant Gilbert when he files, not just Sergeant Davis, but also Lieutenant Whitten, who brought to the attention of the leadership of the LRPD some potential misconduct occurring during the training process. And as a reward for that important information, he was swiftly transferred out of his division. Again, a pretty naked, blatant case of retaliation. The complaint seeks damages, money damages in the form of compensatory damages, lost wages, back pay, but it also seeks injunctive relief. And what we mean by that is that we're looking for the court to enjoin or stop the LRPD from these racially discriminatory practices. And we're also looking for a declaration from the court that these litigants were victims of racial discrimination and discriminatory practice. And so while the damages case is very important to the particular litigants, we're hoping that the injunctive relief that we're seeking is going to really affect every officer in the department, certainly every minority officer in the department, and hopefully clean up some of the mess that exists at the Little Rock Police Department.
Do you think the friction that the chief has with the Black Police Officers Association played any part in his non-selection or withdrawal from the Charleston Police Department position?
That's a good question. What an interesting and odd development that was, huh? In the middle of all of this turmoil, in the middle of all of this calamity, when you really need leadership, you really need someone at the helm. This guy's out looking for a new job in South Carolina. I found that remarkable. It explains so much, didn't it? Didn't it explain a lot? I think I tweeted a while back. I want to see his letter. He sent a letter to the Little Rock, the city, saying, hey, I took my name out. I'd like to see his letter to the Charleston Police Department saying that he took his name out. I wonder if he did take his name out. I don't know what happened with that, but I don't know how you lead after that, if you want the truth. I don't know how you instill loyalty in your subordinates after you tried to cut out the back door.